ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome all the devotees for today's Bhakti Shastri class.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So lesson 5.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Part 2 is today. Last class we have seen the Vidya. Now today we are going to see about the Upasana, that is worship of the Lord. So what is the right way to worship? Just like we had Vidya and Avidya, here also Sambhuti and Asambhuti. These are the two words that are used in this part. Now comparison to the previous chapter, previous part. Shri Radha Govind ki jai, Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. These are the three shloka that we have seen in the last class. Andham tama pravishyanti ye avidyayam upasate tato bhuya ivate tamo yau vidyayam rataha. Now today's part is 12, 13 and 14. You can see the similarity between the two shloka. It is andham tama pravishyanti. First line is same. Ye asambhutim upasate. So instead of saying avidya, here it is asambhuti. Tato bhuya ivate tamo yau sambhutyayam rata. Similarly, here also 13 and 10, 14 and 11. These shloka are formed in the same manner. Only the subject matter is different. Now let us see the meaning of the three shloka. In the last class, we have seen what is Vidya and what is Avidya, and how these two things are giving different meaning at different shloka. So what Vidya and Avidya is called in 9th text is not same as 10th or 11th. They have different meaning. Similarly, here also, the Sambhuti and Asambhuti, they also have two different meaning in each of the shloka. Now, if you see the shloka, Andham tama pravishyanti ye sambhuti ye asambhutyam upasate tato bhuya ivate tamo yau sambhutyayam rata. Translation. All of you please refer to the book. Mantra 12. Those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more so do the worshippers of the impersonal absolute. Here the comparison is between those who are worshipping demigods and those who are worshipping the impersonal aspect of the Lord. And here it is told that those who are worshipping demigods are better than those who are worshipping the impersonal form of the Lord. That is the meaning of this shloka, 12th shloka. And in the 13th shloka, it is said, Anya devahu sambhavat, anya dahura sambhavat, iti shushrumadhiranam yenastad vichachakshire. It is said that one result is obtained by worshipping the supreme cause of all causes, and another result is obtained by worshipping what is not supreme. All this is heard from the undisturbed authorities who clearly explained it. Here, the Sambhuti means the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Asambhuti means that worship which is anything other than Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is given as Asambhuti, and Sambhuti means it is directly referring to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, two different results are obtained, just like in the previous Vidya and Avidya. Similarly, here also, if we are worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we will advance in spiritual life. And if we are going away from Krishna, then we are getting a different result. That is, we will not be able to realize anything in our spiritual life. We will get absorbed in the material aspects of life itself. And the 14th shloka says about the combination of both. That means we need both for achieving the immortality. That is, Sambhutim cha vinasham cha yenastad vedopa ubhayam saha vinashena mrityum tirtva sambhutyam amrutam ashnute. Here, the Sambhuti and Asambhuti. Here, Sambhuti means again the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead we must have, and also knowledge of this material world is also needed for advancing in our spiritual life and for making use of this best use of this bad bargain. That is the body that we have got, the material body. One should know perfectly the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and his transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes, as well as the temporary material creation with its temporary demigods, men and animals. When one knows these, he surpasses death and the ephemeral cosmic manifestation with it. And in the eternal kingdom of God, he enjoys his eternal life of bliss and knowledge. So all the two, both are needed for achieving the immortality. That is to transcend the material world. So the first point, it is telling that we should know the name, form, qualities, and pastime of the Lord. That is Sambhuti. And also in the second part, it is telling one should know the temporary material creation with its temporary demigods, men, and animals. That is the Asambhuti. When we know both of these together, then we can understand what is the absolute truth properly. Now let us understand the points one by one. First one is demigod worship. Now, what is the need for going to the demigod worship? Why we have this demigod worship? And what is the difference between worshipping the Lord directly and the demigod worship? Here, the nature of the Lord is like a loving father or a loving mother who takes care of the child in all the conditions. But that everyone doesn't like it. When the child goes to parents and asks for something, parents will not give each and everything that the child requires or the child is asking. They will inquire, why do you need this? What will you do with this? How this is good for you? Will it be really good for you, or will you harm yourself by this facility? Good parents will check all these things, then only they will give anything to the children. Similarly, when we go to Krishna, he will first purify us. Then he will fulfill whatever desire we have. what happens then? We will not use the facility that given by Krishna for harming ourselves. We will be knowing how to use it, how to make use of that facility. Krishna gives all the facility for his devotees, but with protection. He has told, Ananyas chintayanto mam yejana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. When a devotee is always thinking of me, it is my duty to take care of him. Whatever he has, I will protect, and whatever he needs, I will give him. But it doesn't mean that you can get each and everything. There is a condition. What is the condition? You should be purified, or your intention should be good. Then only Krishna will grant it. But the demons doesn't like it. When the demon like Hiranyaksha or Hiranyakashipu, he goes and in case if they ask also, what they ask, I want to become immortal. I want to be here forever. I don't want death. Then if Krishna asks them, why do you want this? Because I want to rule over everyone. I want to harass everyone. I want to take the control of this universe. Then he will not give it. If you don't give, then who else is there to give? There is no one else. Krishna is a unique person. There is nobody else like him. It is like if you go to a shop and you ask for something. If that shopkeeper doesn't have it, you can go to the next shop and take it. Because there are so many shops. But it is not the case with the Krishna. Because whatever you need, it has to be given by him only. And if he doesn't give, you will not get it at all. Then how he will give? If you don't get purified and still you want to have it, that is through the demigods. Because Krishna doesn't like to give anything that harms us. Then the concept of demigod worship will come. Demigod worship we have in Bhagavad Gita, the chapter number 7. A lot of things are told in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where it says that Kamaistaiste hritajnana prapadyante anya devata tam niyamamastaya prakritya niyata swaya. So Kamaistaite hritajnana, those who are carried away by the desires, material desires, they will worship the demigods. There are two main reasons why people go for demigods. One is the result is very quick. Whatever you want, you will get it immediately. And second one is, they will not ask you why you need this. Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? They will not ask anything. They'll just give. And it is your responsibility to use it. Whether you can, it can be used for good or it can be used for bad. So in both cases, people like it because we want somebody who will immediately give to us, and you should not question why do you need. That's it. This kind of nature we can see in children also. If you ask too many questions, then they say, no, I don't want, leave it. Like that they'll say. And if the child asks, give me your mobile. If you ask, why do you need mobile? What will you do with this? Okay, I don't want, leave it. So that is the nature of small children. Similarly, this kind of nature is there in the living entities who are not ready to surrender to the Lord. Now, if there is no demigod, then what these people will do? There is no way to make them surrender. Now, there are demigods who will facilitate it by the order of Krishna himself. It is by Krishna himself, whatever they are getting, but it is through the, not in the right manner. That is, what is that shloka? Ye anya devata bhakta, ye api anya devata bhakta, yajanti shraddhayanita, tepi mameva kaunteya, yajanti avidhi purvakam. The word avidhi purvakam is used. Avidhi purvakam means it is not the vidhi, it is not the right path, but it is the wrong path that they are taking, and through Krishna only they are going to get the facility. Anyhow, the facility is given. Once the facility is given, the person will be getting an opportunity to learn that whatever I am having is not good. It is going to harm me. The Hiranyakashipu, he made lot of tapasya, lot of penance he has performed. And through that penance, he could satisfy Lord Brahma. And he got whatever he wanted. First, he asked for immortality. I don't want to die only. But Brahma told, I myself is not immortal. I am also going to die one day. How can I make you deathless? That is not possible. Okay, at least you give me this boon that I will not die in the day or night or up and down, inside, outside. So many things he asked. Somehow he thought that I will not die. Now Hiranyakashipu, after getting the boon, he lost control over his senses. Then he started controlling the entire universe. The demigods were under his control. Lord Indra had to obey his orders. When it should be raining, what season should come. All these things you could control. Now it is not good for the universe. It is not good for the living entities. Now, an intelligent person can see this. This is an example for all of us to learn. If you want to become like Hiranyakashipu or you want to become like Prahlad, the example is already there. We should take that example and we should go to the right person and we should do the penance for the right purpose. Now, Hiranyakashipu, finally he died. Even though he has done a lot of tapasya, a lot of austerity, a lot of trouble he has taken. But if you see the example of Prahlad Maharaj, even at the age of 5, he could see the Lord directly and he got the blessings of the Lord. And he is glorious even today. And the Dhruva Maharaj, he went to Lord Vishnu. And when he saw the form of the Lord Vishnu, the beautiful form of the Lord Vishnu, then whatever material desires that he had, he also went with the same intention. Whatever Hiranyakashipu had, I want a big kingdom. I want to control. Same kind of desire was there with the Dhruva also. He wanted a kingdom which is more than his father Uttanapada. But when he saw the Lord face to face, he lost all those material desires and he got purified. So Amin Kritartosmi Varam Nayase. Whatever I got now, that itself is enough. I don't want anything else. I am happy here. That was the conclusion of Dhruva. I was searching for some glass pieces, but I got diamond. What else I need? This is enough for me. That is the benefit of worshipping the Lord directly. The person gets purified. It is not only purification, Dhruva also got whatever he wanted. He did not lose anything. He got the kingdom also. And finally, he went back to Godhead also. So both are fulfilled. That is the difference between demigod worship and the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, in this 12th shloka, the comparison is between demigod worship and the impersonal worship, impersonal form of the worship. Now, which is the better? Some people question, how is that impersonal worship is lower than demigod worship? But this shloka is telling impersonal is lower than the demigod worship. This is also there in the chapter number 7 of Bhagavad Gita, as Krishna says, Avyaktam Vyaktimapannam Manyante Mam Abuddhayaha. Abuddhaya means the person who doesn't have any intelligence will go for Avyakta. That is impersonal form of the Lord, worshipping the impersonal form of the Lord. But those who have little intelligence, that means those who are not thoroughly intelligent, but very little intelligence, Alpamedasam, they will go for demigod worship. Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhoti Alpamedasam. So the word is Alpamedasa means is used for demigod worship. And Abuddhayaha, Alpa Buddhaya for demigod worship, Abuddhayaha for impersonal worship of the Lord. So which is more dangerous, which takes to the more darkness, that is Alpa Buddhayaha, or the worship of the impersonal form of the Lord. What is the danger in impersonal form of the Lord, and why impersonal worship is more dangerous than demigod worship? In demigod worship, at least there is an opportunity for the devotee or the person to understand that there is someone who is higher than the demigod, because he is not the all controller. But when the person becomes a worshipper of impersonal Brahman, then there is hardly any chance for him to go anything higher than that. So he will think that whatever this impersonal form is there, that itself is the highest. And even in the modern society, this impersonal worship is becoming more famous because it can adjust anywhere. God has no name, God has no form. Whatever you think, that is God. So that is very easy to give the philosophy for everyone, and it can go with everyone. But here, when we think that the Lord doesn't have a form, then our worship of the Lord gets limited. The Lord's form is transcendental. He has a beautiful form. And if you think that the Lord doesn't have form, and when I get liberated, I lose my personal identity, then if you are little intelligence, the person will come to the conclusion that better be here. Why to go there? Anyhow, if I go there, everything is over. So let me be here as long as I can enjoy here. Anyhow, after getting liberated, there is no enjoyment. There is nothing, zero. That form liberation, which is impersonal liberation, is more terrible. It is more dangerous. It is more horrible, or we cannot imagine it. It is not at all familiar for us. We don't know what is there. The impersonalist, he wants the liberation because he is frustrated with this life, this material life. He just wants to go out of it. Just like an employee who is working for a company, he's got so frustrated with that company that he just wants to go out, that's all. He doesn't have an intention to join a good company. Whether I go to a good company or not, that is secondary. Even if I remain unemployed, doesn't matter. I just want to get out of this company somehow because I am not happy here. That is impersonal liberation. But if you have a proper idea that yadgatva na nivartante tadhama paramamama, after leaving this material world, we go to the spiritual world where everything is eternal. We can live there happily. This is like an employee who gives up this job, not because he could not work here, but he has got a better opportunity. He is going to a better position. That is proper the Bhagavan realization, going back to Godhead. Yadgatva na nivartante tadhama paramamama. After going there, we can eternally serve the Lord. And serving the Lord, we have the experience. We know the birth, death, old age, disease. If these four problems are not there in this material world, then how happy we can be. That world is there that facility is there in the spiritual world. So we can have some idea how we can be in the spiritual world than getting into the Kaivalya. That's why it is told Kaivalyam Narakayate Tridashapur Akasha Pushpayate Durdatendriya Kala Sarpapatali Protkatadanshayate Vishwam Purna Sukhayate Vidhi Mahendra Dishchakitayate Yat Karunya Kataksha Vaibhavatam Tam Gauram Evastumaha. One who has got the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for him Kaivalyam Narakayate, the impersonal liberation, or what we call as Sayujya Mukti, it is considered to be Naraka. or hell, there is no variety, because variety is the mother of enjoyment. If there is no variety, we get bored. If everything becomes zero, then why to go there? Better you be here and do something. You try to be happy here. But once you go there, then if everything is zero, there is no engagement, there is nothing to exchange, then they will fall down again. Aruhya krutchena patanti adaha anadruta yusmadangrayaha. One who has gone to impersonal liberation, by neglecting the lotus feet of the Lord, they will fall down. Because anadruta yusmadangrayaha, they have given up, or they have anadara, they have not given proper respect to the lotus feet of the Lord, because of which they will fall down again. Patanti adaha anadruta yusmadangrayaha. That, so by this, what we can understand, it is better to go for demigod worship, because demigod worship is not condemned. Demigod worship is, at least it is better than a karmi, or a person who is living like an animal. If we have a question like, should I worship the demigod or not? The answer is, you cannot say you should not worship at all. That we cannot say. It is good. If you worship the demigod, it's good. But for whom? That is the question. Like a student, he will ask, if I score 60% in the exam, is it good or bad? It is good for a person who has scored 40% in his previous exam. If he scores 60% in this present exam, it's good. But if a student who has scored 80% in his previous exam, and present exam he is scoring 60%, for him it is bad. Similarly, a person who is very new to the spiritual life, if he takes to the demigod worship, then it is good. But for a person who is already into Krishna consciousness and he is going back to demigod worship, then it is bad. Again, demigod worship doesn't mean that we have to disrespect the demigods. If we say that I have become, now I am a devotee of Krishna, I am chanting, so I don't have to care about demigods. That is not the point. We should give respect to all, but we should not go to the demigods for material benefit. We should not go and ask for some material gain. Why? Because again, the point is same. They will give you everything without protection. And you are bypassing Krishna. It is like the child asked the parents for 100 rupees. Parents did not give. Now the child goes to the uncle and asks for the money, and uncle will easily give, because uncle wants to please the child. Now he is not so much bothered about the child as the parents, because parents know him more than the uncle. Uncle may be coming in a while and he just want to see that the child is happy. This happens. Similarly, if you asked Krishna, he did not give. Okay, let me go to any demigod and do some worship and let me get it. That means you are bypassing Krishna. Then again you will get into trouble. Then again Krishna only has to come to protect. When Brahma gave boon to the Hiranyakashipu, it was Krishna who came as Narasimha and delivered him. Brahma could not do anything. He just raised his hand. I can't do anything. He is controlling, he is destroying everything, and he just have to see what is happening. So that is the meaning of this shloka, where the impersonal worship is more dangerous. It will take the more darkest region as compared to the demigod worship. In the Vedas also there is a demigod worship given, because when a person is a karmi, when he is just earning his livelihood and just feeding himself, then he is getting into more karmic reactions. But when he comes to the Vedas, the Karmakanda portion of the Vedas, he will become more sober and he will be able to understand that there is somebody who is higher than me. And why he comes? Because the Pushpitam Vacham, the flowery language of the Vedas will attract him. If you do this worship, you will get so many benefits. So why don't you take to this? Why you are struggling so much in this material world? You just worship this demigod, you will get this benefit. So somehow the Vedas will take him to the Karmakanda portion. Then gradually, as a Karmakandi, then he becomes a Karma Yogi. Then he comes to the Jnana Yoga, then Bhakti Yoga. Like that, he can gradually advance in his life. But if he goes to the impersonal worship, then everything gets blocked. He wants to have the impersonal liberation. And in the impersonal liberation, there is no variety, and again he will fall down. So that is the meaning of this shloka, shloka number 12. Those who would like to read can raise their hand. Neeta Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Koti Koti Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
The Ishopanishad points out that one who worships the demigods and attend to their material planets still remains in the darkest region of the universe. The whole universe is covered by the gigantic material elements. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, continue, Mataji.
It is just like a coconut covered by a shell and half filled with water. Since its covering is since the covering is airtight, the darkness within is dense, and therefore the sun and the moon are required for illumination. Mantra 12, purport. Right.
Thank you, Mataji. This is the description of universe that is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. This material universe is made of 5 elements. That's why it's called as Prapancha. Pancha means 5. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. And this entire universe has a covering of this. Covering of 5 elements. And when something is covered, there can't be any light that can go inside. So there is a need for a light source within that. The example is given the coconut. Coconut has so many layers. Inside the coconut, there is a white part, and above that, the hard part, and above that, we have the soft one. Like that, here 3 layers, and in the universe, there are 5 layers. 5 or plus 3, 8 layers. That is Mana Buddhi Ahankara. So all these layers are present in the universe. Because of that, there is a need of sun and moon. But in the spiritual world, everything is self-illuminatory. Na tadbhasayate suryo, na shashanko, na pavakaha. Yadgatva nanivartante tadhama paramamama. It is very difficult to imagine how the spiritual world is. Whatever we desire here, whatever we think that this should be like this, it is actually there in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there is no beginning or ending. It is always there. Natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipa na chaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayam ataparam. That is, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. There was not a time when I was not there, you were not there, and all these people were not there. And in future also, there won't be a time when I will not be there, you will not be there, other people will not be there. That means we will be there eternally. You are there eternally, I am there eternally, all are there. It is always there. It's very difficult because we don't have an example which was there eternally. Here everything has a beginning and end. A living entity has a birth and death. It comes into existence and it will destroy. But in spiritual world, everything is eternally present. Similarly, here also, here we have everything dark. If you don't have a light source, it's dark. When the sun sets, it's dark. When you don't have a lamp, it is dark. Darkness is by default, it is there. You don't have to bring the darkness. But if you want light, then you need a source of light. If you want to see the things, then you need a light. The absence of source of the light, the absence of sun, it brings immediately darkness. So everything is dark here. This universe is dark in nature. But because there is sun and moon, we have the light. But spiritual world, it is full of light. There is no need of having any separate light source. Everything is self-illuminatory. That is a major difference between material world and spiritual world. Now talking about the impersonalist, Puja Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Sadat Rahan.
Take.
Impersonalist, the ignorant pseudo-religionists and the manufacturers of so-called incarnations who directly violate the Vedic injunctions are liable to enter into the darkest region of the universe because they mislead those who follow them. These impersonalists generally pose themselves as incarnations of God to foolish persons who have no knowledge of Vedic wisdom. If such foolish men have any knowledge at all, it is more dangerous in their hands than ignorance itself. Mantra 12, purport. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Lata Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. These rogues are the most dangerous element in the human society. They escape punishment by the law of the state. They cannot, however, escape the law of the Supreme, who has clearly declared in Gita that envious demons in the grab of religious propagandists shall be thrown into the darkest region of the hell. Bhagavad Gita 16.19, 19 and 20 verse. Mantra 12, Papyot. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Anu Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So the Upanishad confirms that these pseudo-religionists are heading towards the most obnoxious place in the universe after the completion of their spiritual master business, which they conduct simply for sense gratification. Mantra 12, purport. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. So continuing to the shloka number 13. Now, demigod worship. So it is said that one result is obtained by worshipping the supreme cause of all causes, and other result is obtained by worshipping what is not supreme. As all this is heard from the undisturbed authorities who clearly explained it. Here in the second part, the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is Sambhuti, and anything that you worship other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is Asambhuti. Here anything means it covers any shelter that you have taken for your happiness. It includes all the material things that we have accumulated in thinking that it will make me happy, it will bring me a prosperous life, it will make me eternally happy. All these things, they are impermanent. They are not going to save us. They cannot help us to come out of the problem of four main problems, that is birth, death, old age and disease. We cannot come out of this. Abrahma bhuvanalloka punaravartino arjuna mamapetyatu kaunteya punarjanma navidyate. In the 14 planetary system, wherever you may go, you cannot escape these four problems. These problems are there everywhere. If you want to really escape from this, then you have to go to the spiritual world. That is the only solution. Otherwise, it is not possible. So it means to say that there is only one shelter. There is no multiple shelters. You sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papyebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. If you surrender to Krishna, then you will be happy. If you don't surrender to Krishna, then you will be unhappy. That is the only possibility. You cannot have a second place where you can surrender yourself or you can get the same benefit of surrendering to Krishna. That is not possible. That is the meaning of second shloka, where Sambhuti and Asambhuti is explained. And in the 14th shloka, it is told, one should know perfectly the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna and his transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes, as well as temporary material creation with its temporary demigods, men and animals. When one knows these, he surpasses death and the ephemeral cosmic manifestation with it, and in the eternal kingdom of God, he enjoys his eternal life of bliss and knowledge. The knowledge of the material world is needed. Why? Because we need to know the temporary nature of this material world. Now, knowing the knowledge of this material world, it can have two types of effect. This we can see in the present education system. When a person gets the education in the modern education system, there they will be taught how to enjoy the material world, how to exploit the material world, how you can use it in your sense gratification. Then it will create bondage. The same material education, if it is taught in another way to show the temporary nature of this material world, yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayona evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshwaramate buddha. Don't get carried away by the temporary nature of this material world. Whatever the matra sparsha, the sensory objects you are getting, it is having a beginning and end. It is not permanent. You will not get permanent happiness through this. So that is also material knowledge only. The knowledge about the material energy. That is a jnana yoga. But this knowledge of the material world, it will create the vairagya, or a person will think of giving up this because it will not make me happy. Then what is the option? Then go understand what is eternally available or what will actually make me happy eternally. Then go for it. So that is, both are needed. By learning about the temporary nature of the material world, we will develop the detachment. And by knowing the pastimes of the Lord, the name, form, qualities and pastimes, nama, rupa, guna, lila, all these things, we'll get attachment. Both are needed at the same time. Detachment from the material world, attachment to the spiritual world. If you have only one thing, what will happen? If you have only detachment from the material world, but you don't have an attachment for spiritual world, then the person will not know what is to be done, or he will get frustrated. He has only half knowledge. And if you don't have a detachment from the material world, but you only have the attachment to the Supreme Lord, of course, when you have attachment to the Lord, then Vairagya will come automatically. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahaitukam. Ahaitukam means without any cause. You will get the Vairagya and Jnana. Jnana and Vairagya is the byproduct that you get as you do the Bhakti. But if you don't have that Vairagya for this material world, that means if you are intentionally holding the material attachment, then the person may become a Sahajiya. Sahajiya means many people say that I'm doing so much of devotional service, I'm doing so much of austerity, why I'm not able to feel the spiritual bliss? Because you are not getting the Vairagya or detachment from the material world. You are only going in the one direction. It is like the actual test for our spiritual advancement is not only how much you get attracted to Krishna, it is also how much you are getting detached from the material world. Only attachment to Krishna, it is not enough. We should get detached from the material world, or attraction towards the material world can keep us here only. Because when the devotee, when he prays to Krishna, please keep me here only, then Krishna also will not force us to go back to Godhead. He will also make you be here comfortably. Okay, when you want to come, you come. Otherwise, you will live here only. Be here. So that will happen. So both are needed. That is the meaning of 15th shloka, where you should have both. Develop the knowledge of material world to get detached from it, to understand the temporary nature of the same, and at the same time, you develop the attachment for the Supreme Lord also, so that you can go back to Godhead. And Prabhupada also here explains about dangers of Mayavada, how the Mayavada can create problem in our spiritual life. In Mayavada philosophy, when a person is not able to achieve the perfection in his life, or when he is not able to come out of the problem of birth, death, old age, disease, or anything that he aspires for, if he is not able to get it, then he will think that, okay, let me become God. If I myself is a God, then there is no problem, because God is the supreme, and if I become God, then all my problems are over. This philosophy will attract him. You yourself can become God. Why are you searching God for anywhere? Because God is, you could not get into you could not see God, or you could not get the blessings of the God. So don't think in that way. You yourself is God. You just have to do something so that you will also become God one day. This philosophy, it will attract such people, those who have controlling mentality. Why we are here? Because we want to enjoy this material world. We want to control. Enjoyment is nothing but controlling. I want to have the control of everything. Then I'll become very happy. Now, if I become the God himself, then I can control everything. I am the supreme. I am the greatest. Everything, rest of the things are subordinate to me. That is Mayavada philosophy. Now you do the austerity. Now you perform all the activities. These Mayavadis and devotees, externally, they may look very same, because the performance of activity is very similar. A devotee is doing the activity for pleasing Krishna, and a Mayavadi is doing his activity for becoming God. If I do this austerity, if I do this like this, then I will become God one day. Then I can also control. That is the difference between the demigod worship, the difference between devotee and the Mayavadi. Why the word Mayavada has come? Because now the philosophy is one day you will become God, and now you are not the God. Now the question arises, why you are not the God now, if you are God? Because God is always God. God will not become God. Nobody can become God. God is always God. When Krishna, he was on the lap of Mother Yashoda, he could kill Putana. It is not Krishna became God after his practice. He is always God. And nobody is more than him. If you find somebody more than God, then that person will become God, not this one. So who is the highest? Anadir Adir Govinda. Who is the Adi for everything and who doesn't have any origin, then he is God. And if you think anybody who is more than God, then that person will become God. What is the answer for this question? The answer what Mayavadi gives is, now I have forgotten it. Now I am in this material world. I am a Jiva now. Now I am in the conditioned state, and I have come under the clutches of this Maya. But once I go out of this clutches or this problem, then I will become God. Now in this case, you are telling that God is coming under the control of Maya. That means Maya is more than God. How is that possible? The material energy which is creating the illusion for the living entity to become the king or to become the controller, that illusory energy can take over God also. If that is your philosophy, then you are a Mayavadi, because you are telling Maya is more than Krishna. Then that's why this philosophy has got the name as Mayavada. Maya is more than God. That's why it's called Mayavada. Vada means argument. Argument which says that Maya or the illusion is more than God. That is Mayavada. When the living entity wants to become independent of Krishna, when he wants to control everything, that is possible only in illusion. Like one kingdom can have only one king. If any common citizen, he wants to become a god, become a king, then how is it possible? He has very intense desire. I want to become a king. That is possible only in your dream. So if you get a dream of becoming a king, then you will get satisfied. You will never become a king. The king is always king. So that dream or that illusion is this material world. This material world is created for the living entity to satisfy his material desires. And when he comes out of this material desire, he can go back to Godhead. Here, everyone wants to become the king. Everyone wants to rule over others. Everyone wants to become the king. But in the spiritual world, the mood is different. Everyone wants to serve. Everyone wants to see that Krishna is happy. Everyone, Jivera Swarupahaya Krishnera Nitya Dasa. But this material world is created. It is illusion doesn't mean that it doesn't have existence. That is not. Or if you say that it's a dream doesn't mean that it doesn't have existence. That is another philosophy. But here it means to say that it is a reflection of the spiritual world. But the purpose is to give a chance to the living entity to fulfill his material desire in his illusion. Here illusion is only thing. Your thought of becoming king is illusory. The 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita says, Urdhva Moolam Adha Shaka, Ashwattham Prahuravyayam. The upside down tree. Whatever is greatest in the spiritual world, that is the lowest in the material world. What is greatest in the spiritual world? Becoming servant of Krishna is the highest thing in the spiritual world. Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayor Dasa Dasa Anudasa. But that same thing, if it happens in material world, it is the lowest. If somebody becomes the servant, most servant, the lowest servant in an institution or in any place, then that is very degraded condition. He is suffering so much. He will be in so much of trouble. But same thing in spiritual world, it is glorious. That's why in spiritual practice also, we try to take the shelter of that person who is the lowest person, or we approach that person. Just like we don't directly approach either Krishna, or we don't directly approach Radharani, we don't directly approach Sakhis or Manjaris. We don't know anything about them. Prabhupada also doesn't speak about them directly. What is recommended? You should find a person who is a devotee of all these people and who is approachable. Through them, we go. Through the devotee who is a servant of the Lord, servant of Lord, Dasa Dasa Anudasa. For them, we have to render service. By seeing our service to the devotee, who is a devotee of the Lord, then the Lord also becomes happy. He will give the blessings. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadiyanam samarchanam. The Vishnu Aradhana is the greatest, but more than that is the Aradhana of the devotee of the Lord. One who is my devotee is not devotee. One who is my devotee's devotee, he is my devotee. That is what Krishna says. Even Prabhupada also one place, he says, somebody asks, who are you? I am servant of Krishna. I am servant of God, he says. Then he says, I am trying to become the servant of Krishna. So that is my identity. So if you are becoming servant of Krishna, then that is the right understanding. But if you want to become the master of master, then you are not the right person to go back to Godhead. So according to Mayavada, you are becoming the master. The intention is not proper. You want to rule over. You want to become the king. then this facility is there. That is called Mayavada philosophy, which is not recommended. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told, Mayavada Bhashya Sunile Hoya Sarvanasha. If you hear the philosophy of Mayavada, then your spiritual life is doomed. You will not be able to realize Krishna, because you get that seed in your heart that I can also become God. I can also control like Krishna. Then that servant but the mood that will be lost. Then you will not be able to advance in your spiritual life or realizing Krishna. All this just becomes superficial. It is not possible. So that is the Mayavada philosophy. And even in modern society, how this Mayavada, it has taken so many forms. The Mayavada is used in so many ways. It has caused so many disasters in the modern society. And also Prabhupada explains about the Manava Seva and Madhava Seva, which is correct. Is Manava Seva is good or Madhava Seva is good? Now, if you are thinking that Manava Seva is better than Madhava Seva, that means what is the need of worshipping the Lord in the temple? Better you serve the person who doesn't have anything to eat, anything to feed himself. So better you go and help him. That is far better than worshipping the deity in the temple. Now the question arises, are you blocking the seva of Manava by doing Madhava Seva? No, definitely not. When you are serving Madhava, when you are doing the deity worship, actually the Manava Seva is covered within that. You see the practical example during the time of Corona. Did our big malls, they gave any charity? From where you got this? The temples gave so many crores of rupees for the government for supplying the needs of the people. People are giving the money to the temple, and this money is used for the society. It is used for feeding prasadam to lakhs of people. If one person does this annadana, the food distribution to anybody, they'll make so much of publicity. But without publicity, there are so many temples, they are feeding so many people every day. So that is this Manava Seva, the real Manava Seva is happening through the Seva of Madhava himself. When we are serving Krishna, everyone is served. Yathataror Mula Nishechanena Tripyanti Tatskanda Bhujopashaka. And it is not only the physical needs that we need to fulfill. When people say we do Manava Seva, they are only talking about the physical needs. You give them food, you give them shelter, give them cloth, medicines. Okay, only the body is fit. But what about the soul? What is happening to their mind? That is not addressed. It's incomplete. The person will not become happy by that. But if you are addressing these issues by giving them spiritual knowledge, then really they can become happy. So by serving Krishna, the Lord's worship should go on always. And by worship of the Lord, everyone can become happy. And when they say Manava Seva, by rejecting the Madhava Seva, are they ready to reject their sense gratificatory projects? No, there are crores of rupees that they spend for so many other purposes, which is of no use for the society, and it is only destroying the society. Are they ready to sacrifice such things? They are not ready to that. But they use so much of money for so many things, that is like for the sports or for the entertainment or for the liquor shop or slaughterhouse. How much money they spend, and how much trouble is there because of that. Are they ready to sacrifice that? If they stop that, then also the Manav Seva can happen. The money that they spend for that they are not addressing such points. So this is on nothing but atheism. They just want to stop the worship of the Lord. Like Hiranyakashipu, he ordered everyone that there should not be any yajna for the Lord. The sacrifice should not happen to the Lord. That is not because he wanted something to be diverted. Whatever you are spending for the sacrifice, you use for something else. No, you actually just want to see that the worship doesn't happen. That is the reason. The person has some atheism or the rebellious nature towards the Lord. The Lord's worship has to be stopped. So such kind of mentality, the person will come up with this kind of idea. If you see even the facts, whatever if you see, wherever there is worship of the Lord, then there is prosperity. If you see the Mahabharata, after Mahabharata war, as Arjuna told, everything will be destroyed. But because Krishna wanted the war to be happen, the whole world became Vaikuntha. Yudhishthir Maharaj became the king. And the cows were giving so much of profuse amount of milk that the ground was becoming muddy because of milk. So much of prosperity was there. So wherever we satisfy the Lord, we will become happy. And when we are not able to satisfy the Lord, when we are thinking about sense gratification, no matter how much wealth you have, it all gets destroyed. Example, you can take Ravana. It was called Swarna Lanka, but he offended Lord Ram, and everything got destroyed. He lost everything. So these are some of the things that we can understand. And also the good intention is not good enough. Intention for helping a person is not enough. We should also know what is good for the people. The example, the decorating the dead body or taking care of the cage, neglecting the bird within. The bird needs food. If you only take care of the cage, then it is not going to make the bird happy. If you are only giving the needs of the body, it will not make the person happy. He needs some spiritual knowledge or spiritual understanding. Then only the person can really become happy. So with this, we have come to the conclusion of today's session. Overview from mantra 9 to 14. Presenting the statement from mantra 9 regarding advancement of education to a modern audience. How process of spiritual life given to us by Srila Prabhupada enables us to achieve a balanced program, spiritual material. This we have seen in the last class. Discussed appropriate attitudes for a Bhakti Shastri graduates towards senior devotees in the community who may not have completed a Bhakti Shastri degree. Okay, this is like how we have to see the people when we are. Bhakti Shastri doesn't mean that you are becoming a master. We are becoming a servant of servant. Bhakti Shastri is a beginning, not the end of the study. Discussed how statements from Mantra 12 regarding demigod worship, impersonalism reflect Prabhupada's moods and mission. Anu Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. In modern times, the number of such pretenders has increased considerably, and it has become a problem for the pure devotees of the Lord to save the masses of people from unholy propaganda of these pretenders and pseudo-incarnations. Mantra 13. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So with this, we have come to the conclusion of today's session. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand and ask the question. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Anu Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I couldn't resist the chance of not asking the question. So, Prabhuji, you said Madhav Seva versus Manav Seva.
Yeah.
This is the first question. Second is as regards Tulsi Maharani. And third also I will ask.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, Madhav Seva, you said worshipping the deity, everything is good. But if you don't consider the Manav aspect and you just are so attached to the Madhav Seva, it brings a very dryness in society, a very, it is not right.
Yeah,
Like,
you should do under the guidance of the spiritual master, or you should understand what is the real intention. It is not like there are Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama Adhikari, no? That concept you should understand. A Kanishta Adhikari thinks that only the deity in the temple is God or is worshipable, and the people, the devotees of the Lord, they don't have any respect for them. That is very Kanishta Adhikari. Archameva Haraye, that is. But if a Uttama Adhikari, what he understands, it is not only the Lord, it is also the devotees of the Lord who are very, very dear to the Lord. That is Aradhananam Sarvesham. Again, my devotee is not my devotee. My devotee's devotee is my devotee. So taking care of them is more important. So in that sense, we should do the deity worship under the guidance of a spiritual master and whatever guidance they give. And giving prasadam to the devotees who come to the temple is a part of the worship. It's not separate. So you cannot say only concentrating on the Lord. If you're concentrating really on the worship of the Lord, the taking care of the devotees who come to the temple is also part of it.
Yes, Prabhuji, and it is a good preaching opportunity to associate with Manav and, this is how other sects have increased their propagandas have increased. As the concentration was more on human aspect. So they could capture a market, which was a void market, which was nobody was taking care of those human beings. So they were they were able to trap them.
But what is the result?
What is the result? It was 2 partitions, one Bengal and one Punjab.
Yeah, that you all answered. Okay.
Yeah, and another one, as per my sources, coming up in South.
Pardon?
Because South India, the rate is increasing, and as per records, it's a good number which is conversion, and they don't know why they are converting. So,
okay,
Manav,
next question.
Yeah, okay, next question, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, as you said, the human being can never be equal to God, but Tulsi Maharani was able to curse Krishna and make him into Shaligram. How is it that possible?
Tulsi Maharani is a human being?
I don't know.
So that concept itself is your question. Your pre-assumption that as a human being itself is not correct. She is a devotee of the Lord, and she is eternal servant of the Lord. And whatever happened, that is the pastime of the Lord. Unless the Lord desires, nothing can happen. Even if you take the example of Gandhari cursing Krishna, it was already decided. Gandhari only became an instrument. So devotees of the Lord become instrument in the hands of the Lord. We cannot say the devotee has decided this destination for the Lord. That is not the case. So we cannot put our small intelligence in that and discuss.
So, Prabhuji, last question.
Yes.
Sambhutim and Sambhutim, here why is the Vedas not directly referring to name? Like ISKCON worships Krishna, or the Vaishnav temples worship Vishnu directly. And Shivaites worship Shiva directly. But why is in this Ved, Yajurved, Krishna not mentioned directly? Why is words like Sammutim independent and Sammutim not independent?
Yeah.
Why is this?
Everyone cannot take to devotion, because if you want to take to devotional service, you need to have the qualification. But at the same time, Vedas cannot reject anyone. So by having this impersonal or without mentioning the name, everyone can take to it. Then gradually, by getting purified, they can take to devotional service. I mean, not immediately. If you are, it is like if you are directly, immediately imposing the worship of the Lord on them, when they are not ready for accepting it, then it becomes very difficult for them to follow. But if you are in the beginning only you give the some karma kanda portion, then gradually you develop, just like in the Upanishads also there is no direct mention of the name of the Lord. It will only tell that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the greatest, who is the controller. We should worship him. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. That Isha, the controller, if we in harmony with him, you can become happy. So by this saying that, we are trying to tell him that there is some greater person who is in control. No, you are not the all controller. Then when he becomes eligible, when he is ready to take the actual meaning or the conclusion, then he will be given the actual knowledge of the Lord, not immediately. He is not ready to accept.
Oh yeah, Prabhuji, last thing I wanted to tell you, if I could tell you after the YouTube recording stops.
Okay, Mataji. Archana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I don't have any question. I just want to make an announcement that this week we will be having our